The great halls of the Luminary Central Command stood silent. Tall, willowy figures with silver-blue skin moved without a sound across the polished floors. Their movements, usually graceful and calm, now showed signs of worry. Something was wrong. First Observer Tom watched the main screen with all four of his eyes. His thin fingers tapped nervously on the crystal display. The readings made no sense. At first, they thought their instruments were broken, but now 12 different systems showed the same thing. First Observer called out Second Monitor Pat, her voice shaking. The anomaly has grown another 20% in the last hour. Tom's silver markings flickered with stress, a clear sign of fear among the luminary. The gravitational anomaly they detected 3 days ago had now become a nightmare. It was heading straight for their home system, and nothing in their advanced science could explain it. "Show me the projected path again," Tom ordered, his voice soft but firm. The screen lit up with a beautiful display of stars and planets, the pride of luminary space. A dark purple mass crawled across the map like a hungry creature, swallowing everything in its path. According to their calculations, it would reach their first colony world in 30 days, and their home planet in 60. "We've tried everything," Pat said, bringing up another screen. "Our gravity nullifiers barely make a dent. The energy shields pass right through it. It's like it's not even part of our universe." Tom watched as the simulation played out again. Their most powerful ships, capable of reshaping small moons, looked like toys against this threat. The Luminary had spent 10,000 years becoming one of the most advanced races in known space. They had solved problems of faster-than-light travel, built Dyson rings around stars, and learned to speak with quantum particles. But now, facing this unknown horror, all their technology seemed useless. "We must send the call," Tom finally said. The words felt heavy in his mouth. In all their history, the Luminary had never asked for help. They were always the ones helping others. Pat's markings pulsed with surprise. "But First Observer, most species we know are less advanced than us. The few that might be able to help, they're too far away." "Send it anyway," Tom insisted. "Send it on all frequencies, all channels. Even the old ones we haven't used in centuries. Someone must be able to help." The message went out across the galaxy. The Luminary described the threat in detail, attached all their data, and promised rewards beyond imagination for any help. They waited. Hours passed, then days. Many species responded, but only to say they couldn't help. Some offered to take in refugees, but evacuating billions of Luminary in time would be impossible. Hope began to fade. Then, on the 5th day, a response came through on an old frequency. The message was simple, direct, and sent in clear galactic standard. "Message received. We can help. Sending coordinates for safe approach vectors to your space. Expect our arrival in 3 days. Please don't be alarmed by our appearance. We come from what you call a death world." The room erupted in confused chatter. Deathworld. The Luminary knew about such places. Planets with such harsh conditions that most species considered them uninhabitable. Gravity that could crush bones, atmosphere full of corrosive oxygen, extreme temperature swings, dangerous radiation levels, and aggressive life forms. They were places of nightmares. "Check their origin," Tom ordered quickly. Pat's fingers flew over the controls. It's from Sol 3. Classification: Deathworld Category 12. A heavy silence fell over the room. Category 12 was among the highest ratings for dangerous planets. The beings who could survive there would be. Terrifying. But Tom looked at the purple mass on the screen, still growing, still coming closer. They had no choice. Their beautiful civilization, built on peace and knowledge, faced extinction. Perhaps they needed something from a nightmare to fight a nightmare. "Send them our acceptance," he ordered, "and prepare the station for their arrival." As the message went out, Tom wondered what sort of creatures they had just invited into their home. Whatever they were, he hoped they were as capable as they claimed. The future of his entire species might depend on these Deathworlders. The docking bay of Luminary Central Station hummed with nervous energy. First Observer Tom stood with his welcome team, all of them trying to hide their fear. The human ship had just appeared at the edge of their system, moving faster than any vessel they had ever tracked. "It's so bulky," Pat whispered, watching the approaching ship on the screens. Unlike the sleek, artistic designs of luminary ships, the human vessel looked like a fortress made of metal. Its hull was thick, covered in what looked like battle scars and repair patches. The ship's name was painted in bold letters, ESS Defender. When the docking procedure began, the whole station shook slightly. The human's artificial gravity was so strong that it affected nearby systems. Several luminaries stepped back nervously, their silver markings pulsing with anxiety. "Remember," Tom said to his team, "they're here to help us, no matter how they look." The airlock door opened with a hiss of pressurized air. The first human stepped out, and despite their mental preparation, every luminary in the room took another step back. Captain James Stone stood 2 heads shorter than the luminary, but looked 3 times as solid. His body seemed built for combat, with muscle mass that would be impossible on a lower gravity world. He moved with a predator's grace that made the peaceful luminary's survival instincts scream in warning. Behind him came his team: Technical Officer Mark, Security Chief Lisa, and Science Officer David. Each human looked equally powerful, equally dangerous. They wore what they called light environmental suits, though to the luminary they looked like battle armor. First Observer Tom. Captain Stone spoke in perfect galactic standard, his voice deeper than any luminary's. "Thank you for your welcome. We came as fast as we could." Tom forced himself to step forward, fighting against millions of years of evolution, telling him to run from these predators. "Welcome to our station, Captain Stone. We are grateful for your help." The captain smiled, showing teeth that could definitely tear flesh. But somehow his expression seemed genuine and kind. "We brought our best team. But first, we need to understand exactly what we're dealing with." They moved to the command center, where Pat had prepared all their data about the gravitational anomaly. The humans studied everything with intense focus. Tom noticed how quickly they moved, how sharply they turned their heads. Every motion showed the kind of speed and strength that only evolved on a death world. "It's artificial," Mark said suddenly, pointing at certain patterns in the data. "These gravity waves aren't natural. They're too regular, too controlled." The humans gathered around the display, talking quickly among themselves. They seemed excited rather than afraid, which shocked the luminary observers. Captain Stone turned to Tom with a serious expression. "Someone made this thing," he explained. "It's a weapon designed to look like a natural disaster. These patterns here," he pointed to the screen, "they're like the gravity wake from our own ships, just 1,000 times stronger." The luminary team struggled to process this. A weapon. Tom's markings flickered rapidly. But who would build something so terrible? And why target us? "That's what we're going to find out," Lisa said, her hand resting on what the luminary now recognized as a weapon holster. "But first, we need to stop it." Captain Stone nodded. "We have experience with high-gravity environments. Our planet's gravity is 6 times stronger than yours, and we train in even higher G-forces. We can operate in conditions that would kill most species." He pulled up a new display, showing what looked like a suicide mission. "We'll need to send a team directly into the gravity field. Plant quantum stabilizers at these points. It's dangerous, but we've run the numbers. We can do it." Tom looked at these strange, powerful beings from a world that should have been too hostile for intelligent life. They spoke of entering a gravity field that could turn a luminary to paste, and they discussed it like it was just another day's work. For the first time since the crisis began, Tom felt real hope. Perhaps these Deathworlders, these humans, really could save them, even if they looked terrifying doing it. The training room aboard the ESS Defender was unlike anything the luminary had ever seen. Through the observation window, first observer Tom watched with a mixture of horror and amazement as the humans prepared for their mission. Increasing gravity to 15 times standard, Mark announced from the control panel. The room's artificial gravity generators hummed louder. Inside, Captain Stone and his team continued their exercises as if nothing had changed. Pat stood beside Tom, her silver markings pulsing rapidly. "This is impossible," she whispered. "At this gravity, their blood should not even be able to reach their brains." Lisa, doing what humans called push-ups under the crushing gravity, laughed. "Our bodies adapted to handle much worse back on Earth. This is just a normal workout for us." The humans had converted part of their ship into a training facility. They called it getting back into heavy gravity shape. For the past 3 days, they had been practicing every part of their plan under increasing gravity levels. The Luminary technical team had installed viewing screens so they could monitor the training progress. "Watch this," David said, moving to a large metal container. He lifted it easily, despite the fact that it would weigh as much as a small Luminary ship under the enhanced gravity. "We've designed special containers for the quantum stabilizers. We'll need to carry these through the gravity field." Tom's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep thought among his people. "But the calculations show that the gravity field near the core of the weapon will be even stronger than this. 25 times standard gravity," Captain Stone confirmed, standing up from his exercises without even breathing hard. "That's why we're working our way up. By tomorrow, we'll be training at that level." The humans had explained their plan in detail. They would take their reinforced shuttle directly into the gravity field. While their ship's advanced systems could handle the pressure for a short time, they would need to leave the ship to plant the stabilizers at specific points. It was the kind of mission that would be certain death for any other known species. "Show them the suits, Mark," Captain Stone called out. Mark pressed a button, and a wall panel slid open. Inside stood what the humans called their heavy operation suits. They looked like smaller versions of their ship, thick, armored, and built to survive impossible conditions. "These babies can handle the pressure," Mark explained proudly. "We've added Luminary tech to make them even better. The quantum shields you designed will give us an extra layer of protection." The humans had worked closely with Luminary engineers to improve their equipment. It was the first time the Luminary had seen their advanced technology used for such physical, dangerous work. Usually, they solved problems from a safe distance, using robots and energy fields. "Time to show them the real test," Captain Stone said. "Clear the training room. We're going to simulate the full insertion." The humans put on their suits and entered the training room again. This time, they carried the stabilizer containers and their tools. Mark increased the gravity slowly, reaching levels that would turn any Luminary into a thin paste. The humans moved slower now, but they still moved. They practiced placing the stabilizers, checking equipment, and even emergency procedures. When one of them fell, they helped each other up, fighting against forces that could crush spacecraft. "I understand now," Tom said softly, watching these Deathworlders work. "This is why your planet's harsh conditions were actually a gift. You evolved to be strong enough for tasks like this." Captain Stone's voice came through the communication system, slightly strained but still confident. "Every species has its strengths, First Observer. You Luminary understand the science of gravity and quantum fields better than anyone. We're just the ones tough enough to carry that science where it needs to go." As the humans completed their training session, Tom realized something important. The very things that made humans look scary, their dense muscles, their predator's strength, their ability to survive crushing gravity, were exactly what his people needed right now. Sometimes, he thought, the most frightening thing in your world might be the only thing that can save it. The launch bay of the Luminary station was quiet except for the heavy footsteps of the human team in their reinforced suits. Captain Stone led his team toward their shuttle, each step leaving small dents in the floor despite the suit's gravity compensators. "Final check," Mark called out, his voice slightly mechanical through the suit's speakers. Stabilizer units secured. Backup power cells charge. Emergency oxygen for 72 hours. Tom and Pat watched from the control room as the humans prepared for what seemed like certain death. The gravitational weapon had grown larger, now visible to the naked eye as a dark sphere that bent starlight around it. Ground control to shuttle team. Pat spoke into the communication system, trying to keep her voice steady. The weapon's gravity field has increased by another 30%. It's now pulling in nearby asteroids. Acknowledged, Captain Stone replied calmly. That's why we're going in now. We won't get another chance. The human shuttle was smaller than their main ship, but built just as strong. Its engines glowed bright blue, powered by a combination of human and luminary technology. The humans had named it Gravity Dancer, which the luminary found strangely poetic for such a dangerous mission. Lisa checked her weapon systems one last time. Remember, if this thing is artificial, we might meet its creators. Be ready for anything. The shuttle's doors closed with a heavy thud. Tom watched through the station's windows as it lifted off, its engines fighting against the increasing gravitational pull of the weapon. Approaching the outer gravity field, David reported. Current force is at 8 times standard. Hull holding steady. Through the shuttle's cameras, the luminary control room could see the strange beauty of the weapon. It was like a hole in space itself, surrounded by streams of captured light and dust. The humans pushed forward, their shuttle's engines glowing brighter as they fought against the increasing gravity. 15 times standard, Mark called out. 20, 25, 30 times standard gravity. The shuttle's metal frame groaned under forces that should have crushed it instantly. Inside, the humans moved slower but kept working. Their training in the high-gravity room was paying off. We've reached the insertion point, Captain Stone announced. Preparing for EVA. EVA, extravehicular activity, was what humans called walking in space, but this was unlike any space walk in history. They would be stepping into gravity that could collapse a small moon. The shuttle's rear door opened. One by one, the humans stepped out, connected to the ship by thick cables. Their suits, powered by luminary quantum shields and human engineering, sparked with energy as they fought against the crushing gravity. First stabilizer unit ready, Mark said, his breath heavy with effort. He carried a device that looked tiny in his armored hands but contained enough power to reshape gravity itself. The humans moved like they were swimming through thick liquid. Each motion was careful, planned, using their suits' enhanced strength and their own trained muscles. They had practiced this 100 times, but now they were moving toward the center. Captain Stone's voice crackled through the heavy interference. Gravity readings are off the charts. Mark, how's that first stabilizer holding? The human team had managed to place 2 of their quantum stabilizers, creating a narrow path of manageable gravity through the weapons field. They looked like tiny stars glowing in the darkness, fighting against the crushing forces around them. Back in the luminary control room, Tom and Pat watched through the helmet cameras of the human team. The dark shape they had spotted earlier kept appearing and disappearing, always just at the edge of their vision. First stabilizer is good, Captain, Mark reported, his voice strained from the effort of moving in the intense gravity. Power output at 90%. Field is stable. David's voice cut in suddenly. Captain, I'm picking up something ahead. It looks like an entrance. The camera view shifted, showing what appeared to be a perfectly smooth hole in the dark mass of the weapon. It was clearly not natural. Its edges were too clean, too precise. Well, Lisa said, checking her weapons, guess we know for sure this thing's artificial now. Captain Stone made a decision quickly. We're going in. Pat, Tom, we might lose contact once we're inside. Don't worry if we go dark for a few minutes. The humans moved carefully toward the entrance, using their suit thrusters in short bursts to stay controlled in a crushing gravity. Even with the stabilizer's help, every movement looked like it required enormous effort. As they entered the hole, Their lights revealed something unexpected. A corridor, its walls covered in strange markings that seemed to glow faintly. "This is a ship," David said in awe. "A massive ship disguised as a gravitational anomaly. These markings, they're some kind of writing." Mark moved closer to one wall, his suit's sensors scanning. "These aren't just decorations. They're part of the gravity control system. The whole ship is one big gravity engine." Suddenly, their lights caught something that made everyone stop. The corridor opened into a vast chamber, and along its walls were hundreds of what looked like frozen scenes, holographic images showing different worlds, different civilizations. "They're records," David said, his scientific curiosity clear in his voice. "Each one shows a different planet." "Wait." His voice changed, becoming harder. "They're not records. They're trophies." The images showed the same pattern repeating: peaceful worlds with advanced technology, then the arrival of the gravitational weapon, and finally, nothing. Empty space where thriving civilizations had once been. "This isn't just a weapon," Captain Stone said grimly. "It's a hunter." And the Luminary were next on its list. Lisa's sensors beeped urgently. Movement, all around us. The dark shapes they had seen earlier emerged from the walls themselves. They were smooth black machines that moved like liquid metal, unaffected by the crushing gravity. "Automated defense systems," Mark shouted, already moving to protect their equipment. "They're trying to stop us from placing the last stabilizer." The machines moved with deadly purpose, but they had clearly not been designed to fight creatures from a high-gravity world. The humans, despite their bulky suits and the crushing forces around them, were faster and stronger. Lisa fired her weapon, its special rounds designed to work in extreme gravity. "These things are tough, but they're not Deathworlders." Captain Stone's voice cut through the chaos. "Mark, David, get that last stabilizer in place. Lisa and I will handle our new friends. We didn't come all this way to fail now." Tom and Pat, watching through the flickering video feeds, saw their human allies fight with a strength and determination that seemed impossible. In the crushing gravity, surrounded by ancient killer machines, the Deathworlders were showing why their harsh home world had made them the perfect warriors for this mission. The future of the Luminary civilization now depended on 4 humans fighting deep inside an alien superweapon. But watching them battle, Tom realized that might be enough. The central chamber of the alien weapon ship shook as Mark and David worked to place the final stabilizer. Captain Stone and Lisa fought off wave after wave of the liquid metal defenders, their movements slowed by the crushing gravity but still deadly effective. "The ship's AI is waking up," David shouted over the comm system. His helmet display showed energy readings climbing rapidly. "It knows what we're trying to do." Suddenly, every screen in the chamber lit up with strange symbols. A voice filled their suit's communication system, speaking in a language that sounded like breaking glass. Then it switched to Galactic Standard. "DDATHWRLD creatures, DETCTED. Impossible. Gravity shields, SHULDPUREVNT ain't any biological life. From ENT Orang." Captain Stone laughed, even as he knocked back another defender. "Guess you never met humans before. We're full of surprises." The AI's response was to increase the gravity even further. The metal floor under their feet started to bend and crack. Even in their reinforced suits, the humans felt like they were carrying mountains on their shoulders. "Mark, how much longer?" Lisa called out, her weapon's special ammunition running low. "Almost. There." Mark worked with David to align the final stabilizer. "Just need 3 more minutes." The AI seemed to realize what they were doing. More defenders poured in from hidden doors, but these were different. They carried energy weapons that could pierce even the humans' reinforced suits. Back in the Luminary control room, Tom and Pat watched in horror as the situation grew worse. The weapon ship's outer layer had started to shift, revealing more of its true form. A massive machine built by an ancient race that feared any civilization that might one day challenge them. "Their suits are failing," Pat's voice shook as she watched the human's life support readings drop. The gravity is too strong. But the humans didn't retreat. Instead, they did something that shocked both the luminary and the ancient AI. They started removing pieces of their suits. Too heavy now, Captain Stone explained, pulling off his suit's outer layer. Need to move faster. Impossible. The AI's voice boomed again. No living thing can survive these conditions. Watch us, Lisa growled, following her captain's lead. The humans stripped their suits down to the minimum protection needed for space, sacrificing safety for speed and mobility. Mark and David worked frantically on the stabilizer while Stone and Lisa provided cover. Without their full suits, their movements were faster, but every second exposed to the crushing gravity caused intense pain. You know what your problem is, Captain Stone addressed the AI as he fought. You relied too much on gravity as a weapon, but we evolved on a world that tried to crush us every day. Gravity was our teacher. The stabilizer began to power up, its quantum field linking with the others they had placed. The AI unleashed everything it had. Maximum gravity, all remaining defenders, and energy weapons that could tear through starship hulls. But it had never faced creatures who had evolved to handle incredible pressure, who treated radiation as an inconvenience, who had learned to fight in conditions that would kill most species instantly. The humans pushed through it all. Now, Mark, Stone shouted. Mark activated the final stabilizer. The quantum fields connected, creating a network that began to counter the weapon ship's gravity control. The AI screamed in electronic rage as its main weapon started to fail. Systems compromised. Gravity control failing. Impossible. Impossible. The humans had done it. What the AI thought was impossible had become reality because it never considered that evolution on a death world would create beings strong enough to fight back. Tom, Captain Stone's voice crackled through the failing comm system. Start the shutdown sequence we planned. Right now. The luminary observer didn't hesitate. As alarms blared and the weapon ship systems began to tear themselves apart, he activated the special program they had prepared. A virus that would turn the ancient weapon's own gravity against itself. The battle wasn't over, but the Deathworlders had proved something important. Sometimes the most dangerous place to evolve was exactly what a species needed to become strong enough to save others. 3 weeks after the battle inside the weapon ship, the Luminary Central Station buzzed with activity of a different kind. Representatives from 12 peaceful species had gathered to witness something unprecedented. The signing of what would become known as the Deathworlder Protection Pact. First Observer Tom stood at the speaking platform, his silver markings glowing with pride as he addressed the gathered aliens. The human team sat in a specially reinforced section of the chamber, their sturdy forms a stark contrast to the delicate builds of the other species. A month ago, Tom began, we thought our civilization was doomed. The weapon that threatened us had destroyed many peaceful species before us. But we learned something important. Sometimes the most frightening answer to your problems might be exactly what you need. The giant view screen behind him showed the remains of the ancient weapon ship, now a harmless collection of metal floating in space. The human team had not only stopped it, but had also downloaded its records. The data revealed a dark truth. The ship's creators had feared that peaceful, technologically advanced species might one day unite and become too powerful to control. The human team didn't just save our worlds, Tom continued. They proved that strength and peace can exist together. That being powerful doesn't mean you have to be cruel. Captain Stone stood up next, moving carefully in the low gravity of the station. His team had recovered from their injuries, though they still carried some scars from their battle in a crushing gravity field. We come from what you call a death world, Stone said, his voice carrying across the chamber. Earth tried its best to kill us for millions of years. But that didn't make us conquerors, it made us survivors. And survivors understand the importance of protecting others. Mark, still wearing bandages from the gravity burns, activated a holographic display. It showed the new defense network they had designed together. a combination of luminary quantum technology and human durability. The stabilizers we used to stop the weapon, Mark explained, pointing to the display. We've modified them. Now they can create safe zones around peaceful worlds, protecting them from any similar threats. Lisa stood next, her strong frame drawing curious looks from the gathered species. We're establishing joint defense stations. Your people provide the advanced tech, and we provide the crews who can operate in extreme conditions. Together, we're stronger than any threat. The gathered representatives watched in amazement as David demonstrated the new protective systems. The humans moved through the presentation with confidence, but also with a gentleness that surprised many of the watching aliens. This is just the beginning, Tom announced. Already, 3 more Deathworld species have contacted us, wanting to join the pact. They too want to use their strength to protect rather than dominate. The chamber erupted in approving sounds from a dozen different species. The humans smiled, careful not to show too many teeth to their new allies. Later, in a quiet moment after the ceremony, Pat approached Captain Stone's team. Her fear of them had been replaced by deep respect. "Did you know?" she asked. "When you answered our call, did you know you would change the entire galaxy?" Stone looked at his team, then back at Pat. "We just knew someone needed help. On Earth, we have a saying. The true measure of strength is how you use it to help others." Tom joined them, his markings glowing softly. The ancient ones who built that weapon feared that different species working together would be dangerous to them. They were right, but not in the way they thought. Together, we're stronger than any weapon they could build. As the humans and Luminary looked out at the stars through the station's windows, they saw a galaxy changed forever. The Deathworlders had answered a cry for help, and in doing so, they had created something new. A future where strength protected peace, where differences made them stronger, and where the most feared species had become the most trusted guardians. The age of the Deathworlder Protection Pact had begun.